Hey guys, Katie here. I just finished reading The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf, and as you can see, I enjoyed it a little bit. I'm going to read you a couple of excerpts. But first, what the book's about. The book is about women and beauty, essentially, culture, and media. And with this book, I had to keep bearing in mind it was written in 1991. And it does show its age a little bit. I do wonder if there is like a 20th anniversary edition, because if there was, that would be amazing to read. I'll have to double check on that later. So I thought this book was so great because each chapter is divided up into like beauty and work and religion and different aspects of everybody's lives, and how beauty relates to that and how it impacts it. And I did find these excerpts that I'm going to read to you and explain to you why I find them very ironic is because a lot of things have changed since 1991. Gotta say, not for the best. So, first, this is the chapter Culture. It's on page 83. Naomi writes, airbrushing age off women's faces has the same political echo that would resound if all positive images of blacks were routinely lightened. That's ironic because on the website beautyredefined.net, if you haven't gone there, you really should. It's really, really great. It's put together by a couple of PhD students who I think they're studying feminism, but I'm not 100%, don't quote me on that. But they have a blog that's about photoshopping, and a couple of the pictures that they have on there is essentially the whitewashing of America. They have like before and after photos, or what the actresses normally look like, and then what shade of color they were. So they have like the whitewashing of Beyonce and Rihanna and some other actresses that I didn't know who they were. But it's very obvious that these people are not that light. So I find that ironic that this was not considered in 91. It's like, airbrushing age, okay. Whitewashing black people, get out of town. Now it's 20 years later, it's more the norm than anything. The next part is religion. And it's talking about weight control as religion and being a cult and whatnot. Well, she likens it to a cult, all those weight watching fads and diets and programs that they have. So, Naomi says that they are enacted in a context of group pressure to effect a kind of conditioning that dismantles the individual. The weight cult draws on an inexhaustible supply of group pressure. It is better positioned than other cults because group pressure is magnified by institutional pressure and culture pressure. The Unification Church owns just the Washington Times, whereas the weight cult provides revenue to most of the women's media. I find this, on a personal level, quite amazing and believable. Where I work, they have Weight Watchers at work, and there are about 4 or 5 people in my department who participate in it. And it definitely seems like a cult. Even people who don't participate in it, if they see you eating something that isn't part of what they can eat, they give you a hard time about it. I'm not making this up. And it's just ridiculous. Like, you're so conditioned that you have to try to convert people to your cult of Weight Watchers. At least that's how I see it. Other people who do Weight Watchers and it works for them, that's great. But I don't do Weight Watchers, and I don't appreciate other people trying to convince others who are also not interested in Weight Watchers to become part of it. I find that wildly inappropriate. And also, diets don't work. So, I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna have the last laugh when everybody gains all their weight back. And I'm sitting there running, 5Ks. So, the next excerpt I'm going to read to you is Violence. And this one I just thought was funny. She's talking about how, like, a century ago, how was women's power and how things have changed and what they thought. So this, she's talking a century ago, says that a century ago, normal female activity, especially the kind that would lead women into power, was classified as ugly and sick. If a woman read too much, her uterus would atrophy. I just find that hysterical. The next part, the last one I'm going to read to you, is a chapter on violence. And this actually isn't violence in like the man, woman, domestic violence sort of call the cops sort of deal. It's violence against your body. She spends this chapter talking about plastic surgery and liposuction and everything women go through just to stay looking young and thin. So this, especially in what's happened in the last week, I find especially ironic. So Naomi writes, if you could make $1 million a year, the average income of cosmetic surgeons in the United States, by doing so, then female fat can easily enough be called a disease. And this is ironic because obesity has recently been classified as a disease. I don't know if that's an accurate descriptor or not. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what constitutes a disease or not. I feel like obesity is a lot more than just one thing that you can just put in a tiny little box, call it a disease. There are a lot of factors that go into people gaining weight and being heavy than what they supposedly should be like. But also along the lines of obesity, another beautyredefined.net blog that they did was talking about how the BMI chart that everybody goes by, how it's essentially fake. It was invented by insurance companies to begin with. And they have the intersection of height and weight. It's 10 pounds off from what it should be. So say it says that your maximum normal weight is 130, it's really 140, and they just skewed this because they're insurance companies, they want to be able to charge you more. How can they do that? They make you sound heavier than you really are. It also does not take into account people's ethnicities. If you're Asian, if you're African American, if you're Caucasian. It doesn't take into account if you're a woman or a man. It doesn't take into account your fitness level, if you just sit all day or if you're super active. The example that people really like to trot out is Arnold Schwarzenegger. In his peak of being Mr. Universe, would be classified as obese on this BMI chart. So that's why I don't believe it. When it says that I'm like this number, I'm like, that's great. Load of BS, according to me. That's just me. I mean, some people swear by it. I mean, you really shouldn't. You should really check out beautyredefined.net. It's really great. So that's all I had to say about the beauty myth. I probably would have highlighted this whole book if I could have, if it were mine, but I support the libraries and I checked it out. It's not mine. I'm not going to go writing in it like other people did, star and parenthesize in it. So I'm not the only one who enjoyed it. So that's that. And the book that I just started last night, I'm only like 2 pages into it, but I'm so excited. It's Stephen King's Joyland. I talk about this in my About Me vlog, so I'm really, really excited. Let's hope that it's great. I'll tell you probably in a couple days after I finish it, because it's pretty short compared to his other books like The Stand that I read earlier this year, the uncut edition at 1,500 pages. Use that as a doorstop. So, but I'll catch you guys later in a couple days with Joyland. See ya.